Hello there YouTube, how's it going? Now I got you a match today against Astrotekk, and that is a scary looking team. Any team with Tauros in makes me quake in my boots. I have Glalie, I have Mr. Mime, I have my amazing Technicolor team of misfits which I kinda grown attached to using. Now Tropius is the main guy who's gonna hopefully get some sweeps going with the Dragon Dance and the Seed Bomb, all that good stuff. Mr. Mime, possibly with the Charge Beam, but the only problem with Mr. Mime is that it is outsped by a lot of stuff. Now, I kind of thought, you know what, I don't even know what he's going to lead with, so I'm going to play it safe and lead with the one guy who will definitely do something good, which is Glalie. Glalie, of course, being the guy who gets up his 3 layers of spikes. Then, and only then, do you have his permission to die. So I go for a sub just to see what he's going to do, and he in fact goes for his Stealth Rocks, which is fine. Now Seismitoad did actually get quite a big boost when Black and White 2 came out. It gets Ice Punch and Stealth Rock from the move tutors, so it now finally gets an Ice type move, which isn't Hidden Power. And of course it does get the... what else does it get? Water Absorb as its Dream World ability, that's pretty useful. So Seismitoad is actually a pretty viable wall in NU at the moment. Or a Swift Swim Sweeper if you like. I mean, it's kind of similar to Gastrodon, except it's less viable as a wall because it doesn't have Recover, or Ice Beam, or Storm Drain, but on the other hand it is much quicker and it does get Swift Swim for the offensive sweeping, so yeah, not too bad. So I go for another layer of spikes as he brings in his Rampage, the Tauros. Definitely do not want to mess with this guy. Why does Tauros have 3 tails? I have no idea, but definitely those 3 tails will cause you a lot of trouble. Not really, it's the horns you want to watch out for. Now I go into my Vigoroth here just because it can take any physical hit. And why does Tauros have a green mane? I'm getting distracted, but yeah, I can take the Rock Slide pretty well because Eevee-like Vigoroth does have a pretty respectable defense stat. Now I don't know why he brought in Zeb Striker here. That's probably not what I would have picked, but I guess he was predicting, I don't know, T-Wave or something random. Not exactly sure, but yeah, I take him out with another Body Slam because he did get the paralysis, which was unfortunate. Now he brings in Talisa, and Talisa, oh dear. Talisa, of course, being one of the rising porn stars in the UK, used to be a singer, quite a successful one. I did like her We Are Young song, which is pretty damn good. Unfortunately, Talisa here is going to get taunted, but unfortunately for me, it is in fact an offensive variant, so that taunt is irrelevant. Now, I go into Bane's Cat here pretty much just to sacrifice it and to see, well, to get a better indication of what kind of Gardevoir it is. Now, I saw the damage and I assumed it was Choice Scarf because I thought Choice Specs would just flat out kill Glalie because there's no defensive investment apart from HP and, you know, there's no Life Orb recoil, so I assumed Choice Scarf. However, I actually outspeed this guy, so that tells me that he has to be Choice Specs or, I don't know, Expert Belt or something, so I'm free to go into Rapidash here just to finish him off with a Flare Blitz. But no! I'm gonna go into Vigoroth here, baiting the Wheezing Switch just so I can go into Vigoroth, get off a Slack Off hopefully, and just recover up again. Because I feel like I'll need Vigoroth against the Tauros in the future, and, you know, possibly gonna be useful for taking down the Wheezing, because I do have the Taunt. Now it goes for Sludge Bomb just to try and finish me off, and I am having none of that. Gonna do a reasonable chunk, but now I'm gonna switch out into Tentacool, and barring that it's not Dean Blade's infamous Life Orb offensive T-Bolt Wheezing, it really can't do too much to Tentacool, so yeah, I'm just gonna go for a Rapid Spin as he's gonna stay in and burn me, which is, you know, fair enough, that's what you want to do to a Tentacool. Rack up that damage with a burn. Now, I'm pretty glad that I did get the rocks away because now I can freely switch into my Glalie. No, Glalie's dead. Now I can switch into my Tropius and not worry about taking the residual damage. Now, I go for a knockoff on the switch just on whatever comes in, or if he wants to stay in, that's fine. Get rid of those leftovers, which is all fine and dandy. Now, this switch I didn't really understand. I assume he was baiting something, though I can't really remember what the rest of my team is like, so maybe he was baiting the Tropius in, not exactly sure, but yeah, I decide just to stay in, just pretty much sack Tentacool, or at least go for Toxic on that thing. And in comes Fracture, which is great. Now, getting a Toxic on this guy was actually pretty crucial, because if I was in sort of at the same time as him, like he didn't switch into a Toxic, he could probably just either kill me or taunt me, so I couldn't actually poison him. And Toxic is pretty much the #1 way I can actually take this thing down. It has the Eviolite, so it's going to be able to take a couple of hits from anything on my team. I have no Ice-type moves now that my Glalie is dead, but yeah, it goes for another Dragon Dance on the next turn, which I thought was kind of surprising, but hey, it lets me get off a Scold, and it means that he is going to actually die from the poison at the end of this turn. So that was good for me. It meant that I only had to sack Tentacle as opposed to half of my team, so yeah, Tentacle goes down, but he did his job. He took down the Fracture and did a reasonable chunk to something else, I forget. Tentacle did his job, that's the point. Now he brings in Talisa, and I was really hoping he wouldn't do this. I was kind of hoping he'd bring in Wheezing, predicting my Rapidash, but nope, that doesn't happen, and he brings in the Gardevoir. That's definitely going to take out my Vigoroth here. Choice Specs T-Bolt is nothing to mess around with. So, Vigoroth goes down, no pun intended, and I bring in my Rapidash. Gonna go for a Flare Blitz on whatever. I know he has the Wheezing still, but this is kind of my best option at this point. I guess I could have potentially done a double switch type thing into Mr. Mime, but I want to kind of keep Mr. Mime alive for... Well, actually, no, that probably would have been the better play regardless, so... Yeah, whatever, go for another Flare Blitz, and that is going to take it down to a pretty low range. Now, next turn he goes for a Sludge Bomb. That almost takes me out, but Rapidash, by some miracle, actually lives the hit, so... Now I have to make a choice. I have to think, okay, either I go for a Flare Blitz, or I go for a Morning Sun, right? Now, in this particular case, I decide that Flare Blitz is going to be the better option, just in case, you know, he stayed in and Sludge Bombed again, and then potentially got a crit or whatever. I thought it was the best plan. So now I go into my Tropius here, and because he's in with Seismitoad, and because I don't think he has an Ice-type move, because he's a more defensive set, I'm free to go for a Dragon Dance. Now he does go for Toxic, which would normally be the good play. However, he doesn't know I have the Lumberry, and the Lumberry, of course, is gonna just make Tropius not care about the Toxic at all. Lumberry and Harvest is one of the best combinations you can give this guy. Honestly, like, Tropius is very hard to stop once it gets going. Although you'll see that's not entirely true in a sec. Now, get the Harvest there, get the Lumberry back, and I am standing at +2 speed, +2 attack, which is not too bad. Now, I decide to go for a Seed Bomb on whatever comes in. In comes the Wheezing, and, you know, I can't really do anything to this Wheezing still. Like, look at that damage. Wheezing is an amazing physical wall, honestly. So, this turn, I'm gonna fly up in the air like all good dinosaurs do, and... Why did they make a flying grass-type dinosaur? What is the relevance to anything, but... Hey, I have no idea. I go for a Fly, and that is gonna almost take it out. But unfortunately, he does have the Clear Smog, which I'm not really too worried about in terms of taking out the Wheezing, because I can still kill it from that range. However, it does mean that I am now vulnerable to Tauros, because it does have higher speed than me, and it's definitely going to OHKO me with a Rock Slide. Now, it all comes down to whether or not basically it's Mr. Mime versus Tauros. Whether or not I can actually take any hit from it. So down goes Tropius. Tropius is slowly dying. That's a sad sight for me. I did not want to see Tropius get destroyed after such a good game before this. I think this was right after my do not mess with Tropius game. So I bring in Fargus with his mighty 220 HP. Gonna try and take the probably Sheer Force Rock Slide. And I assume he's not... Well, I assume he's Choice Scarf because A, a Life Orb 1 would have done more damage, and B, he would have switched up to a normal type move. Because I can actually take the Rock Slide, which is great. Now he brings in Talisa. That dies to Spikes. He brings in Seismitoad. That dies to Spikes, and Fargus is going to claim the victory for me once again. So that was actually a really close game. Had the Tauros actually killed me there, that would have been it. I was thinking Tauros would actually sweep my team. So, hope you all enjoyed, and with that being said, I will see you all next time. Goodbye.